thank you for a great presentation. There were a lot of stories and pictures that you painted, and one that stuck was a story about Elon Musk launching Tesla's latest car model. And you paint a picture where Elon Musk, he starts talking about the planet, the environment, our kids, the future, sustainability. Nothing in the beginning about features and benefits and how fast the car accelerates and so on. And directly afterwards, 400,000 people buy the car. They don't even buy the car, they pre-order the car. So what's going on here?
Yeah. This is a perfect example of when you reverse the order, when you communicate from the inside out, when you tell people why you do something or why you are doing something, you're able to connect on a deeper level. That's what people respond to. That's where you get the emotional response. And so over the course of 6 or 8 weeks, 400,000 people pre-order the vehicle. The number is probably double or triple at this point now. Not only that, that number 400,000, I didn't mention this before, but at that moment in time, it represented more sales, more electric vehicles that were on the road in the United States at that time last year in 2016. So
Insane.
In a 6-week period, they sell more vehicles, electric vehicles, that were on the road because Tesla, as opposed to nothing against Ford or GM or any of the other companies, but they're not good at communicating their why. They're good at coming up with the what. They're good at explaining what makes them different. But they're not comfortable talking about the why. I mentioned it before. If it was easy to talk about the why, everybody would be doing it. But it's hard because it's emotional. And companies don't do emotion well. If you think about leadership and leaders and executives today, you see executives are going to storytelling workshops. Why are they going to storytelling workshops? Because people know that if you can tell a story, that's how you connect with people. You connect with people on that deeper emotional limbic level, and that's how you drive behavior. Talking about what is what commodities do. Starting with why is what great leaders and great companies do. They inspire.
I mean, when this seems so difficult. I mean, often people talk about this why talk as something that's really kind of fuzzy. It's not tangible enough. But in your experience, when you're working with purpose-driven organizations, are they lower in output or are they less hardworking?
In my experience, they are quite the opposite. They are much more hardworking, but not hardworking as in slave labor, working till midnight. When necessary, people will put in the hours, but what I find is they actually are more efficient. They're actually more effective. They actually get more done in less time with less resources. What usually happens in these organizations that are purpose-driven is that leaders become multipliers. There's a famous book called The Multipliers that was written by Liz Wiseman, and she looked at leadership at Oracle, which was the big software company, and what she found is that there were some leaders that were able to get twice as much done with the same amount of people. So I don't think it's about working harder. I think you need to be diligent, I think you need to be committed, I think you need to be dedicated, and people will give you that all, but it's not about working till 1 o'clock in the morning. When I have friends who are like, oh, it's Friday night, 9 o'clock, and they're still at the office. Who wants to live that life? I mean, once in a while, it's fine. So I don't think it's about working harder. I think it's as much as it may sound like a cliche, it's working smarter. And it's because the people feel safe, because people are dedicated and have a laser focus and are aligned with the overall kind of company vision and mission. So they're sharing more information, they're being more cooperative, they're being more trustworthy, they're breaking down silos, they're figuring out all the things that they need to do to be more effective and do great work. Do work that they're proud of. Like if you increase, not because they're working harder, but because people are working together.
Yeah, and speaking of that, that is what you're working with as a team.
Yeah.
The Start with Why team.
Yeah.
So when you are starting with working with a company or organization, what usually happens when they start to get purpose driven?
Yeah. So a few things happen. There's resistance.
Yeah.
And people say, we've seen something like this before, because every company has been through a change initiative. Every company has done a restructuring or a layoff or a reorg. And so people are conditioned to say, oh yeah, we'll see it when we believe it. I'll get on board when I get on board. And so that's where that's where, when Simon talks about sort of this graph, he talks about, well, how do people come along? Do we have our, the diffusion of innovation? Like, do people come along? Who are my early adopters? Who's my early majority? Who's going to be my late majority? Who's going to be the laggard? So the first thing that you see is pockets of resistance where people are saying, no, this isn't for me. I don't like it. Prove to me that it's going to work, and then I'll get on board. Yeah. And the more analytical you are, that tends to be sometimes a trap that you can fall into because you're looking for proof. I can't prove to you the why, like you said before, it's fuzzy, it's intangible. We've got to prove it with our what's and our how. So definitely the first thing you see are pockets of resistance and people are saying, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this. But what happens over time is people start to self-select out. The analogy I use is the bus and the seat. The bus is the company and the seat is your role. And what our dream, our vision, is that every single person who goes to work is on the right bus and on the right seat. And what that means is they're in the role that's a good fit for them, and they're at a company that's a good fit for them. Just because I talk about Netflix or Zappos doesn't mean that's a good fit for everybody. So hopefully over time, people start to recognize, is this a good fit for me? Am I in the right seat? Am I in the right bus? Because sometimes you're on the right bus, meaning you're working at a company that you really like, but you're in the wrong seat. I don't like my role. Or sometimes you're in the right seat. I love what I do. I'm a project manager. I love it. Or I'm a consultant, or I'm a trainer, or I'm a facilitator, but I don't like the company. And I think once companies start articulating their why and encouraging individuals to articulate their why as well, we can get more people who are in the right seat on the right bus. And when that happens, that's a total game changer because then we can actually start making a difference in people's lives on a much bigger scale.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where can I find more information?
Absolutely. So the best place to find more information is just simply to go to startwithwhy.com. And that's all one word, startwithwhy.com. There's resources. I was just explaining to one of your participants that, we think of ourselves as a movement. And the movement is really about the people. And so we have resources that are available for free. We have a why discovery course. There's tools and tips and booklets and PDFs and things that you can download and look at and use to inspire the people who you work with and who you live with. We're constantly encouraging people to share the message. This is not something that we want to keep a secret. We want as many people as possible to think about why they do what they do. And I think the more people that do that, the better off everyone is going to be.